So, this week, we are, as you may have figured out at this point, we're talking about gravity.
Gravity. The gravity of the situation is great.
What we are not talking about, I mean, we'll mention it. I suppose we are talking about it if I'm going to state it right now. We're not playing any April Fool's jokes.
No, we're not.
We're not, I mean...
These weird, we consider doing a show talking about where these weird customs come from. April 1st, Valentine's Day. These days that they don't really mean anything. They just come out of nowhere. Groundhog Day.
Where the hell did April 1st come into play as this idea of like, that's the day you fuck with people and make, you do.
Well, I think people started coming out of the house, because they'd basically been holed up for winter.
Yeah.
And, people play practical jokes. So a lot of practical jokes get played early spring. They figured they'd give a day to it, let people have their fun and then, get back to fucking work.
Yeah. So, but we decided instead that we're just going to do a normal show because, it is probably time for us to do a normal show, being that last week's show was in the back of a van.
Yeah.
The show before that, we had Joe Zemecki on.
Yep.
So we're getting back to
somewhat back to the norm, baseline.
Right.
That's what we're doing.
Even though we've changed almost every segment. So here we go. Woo! All right. So just so everyone's aware, it is a call-in show. We'd love to have you call in and chat. The phone number is 424-243-9589. There is also a chat room at blogtalkradio.com. You can go check that out. We're looking at it right now. And, make fun of us, do what you will. That's what's going to happen. Okay, so moving on to, we probably don't know what the hell we are talking about.
Indeed.
Here's the thing. We've been doing the show for a while. This is our 32nd show, and that's not counting those shows that we don't acknowledge exist.
I thought you told me you didn't put those on the air. Wait a second.
Yeah, well.
Have you been recording those?
Maybe.
You tricky bastard.
So, at any rate, we get emails, and it's great to get emails that means people like the show. We actually are quite disappointed that we don't get enough emails that say that the show sucks, or hate mail, or anything like that. Although we did get some hate mail on the Buddhism show.
We did.
That was a fine time.
We went back and forth with them quite a bit because their accusations were fairly unsubstantiated, and they didn't back it up. They kept saying, "You're mean. You don't know what you're talking about." How? You don't know what you're talking about. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, but in the midst of all the emails we get, we sometimes, for some reason, people decided to email like two idiots talking into microphones like questions from like biology class and shit. So we figured,
we actually have one kid who may be listening today who emails us fairly often, and I'm sorry we didn't have one of his here to deal with, but he keeps emailing us weird things from his theistic biology teacher.
Yeah.
So if you're out there, we do acknowledge your existence.
I will say we have been getting these questions, so we decided we're going to talk about them on the air, and therefore what we're going to ask from you guys is more questions.
We like questions.
Seriously, email whatever questions you want. Unless they're about magnets, I'm not fucking talking about magnets. The scientists are getting me pissed.
Yes.
I'm looking at you, Paul Applegate. Anyway,
I think Paul Applegate's an engineer.
Yeah, well, we talked
Everybody knows engineers aren't really scientists.
Yeah, this is true.
How many significant digits? Let's say 1, 2, maybe. It'll be fine.
Just truncate it. That's fine. Okay, so the question I'm going to answer is a question we got from someone who signed themselves Michael Motorcycle. I think that's, sure, okay.
Not Michael Motorcycle?
No, he doesn't list his middle name.
That could be it then. Hopefully he has no problem with flatulence.
You can use your real name. You can use whatever name you want us to use on the air. It doesn't matter. Anyway, his question is, what's the difference between a species and a variety? Specifically regarding plant classification. Mm-hmm. Okay, and because there's there's varieties of roses, there's varieties of any number of plants, ferns. I don't know, whatever. There's plants, stuff like that, and it's the same answer as it is for animals. A variety is an intra-specific taxa, whereas a species is a taxonomic rank. Mm-hmm. Now, what all that gibberish means is a species is defined as something that an animal can interbreed with an animal of its same species to produce an animal that can reproduce.
So you have to be able to have sex to make a baby that can have sex and make a baby.
Right. So because you can cross a donkey and a horse to make a mule.
That's true.
But a mule is not a new species because a mule cannot create offspring.
Right. They're sterile.
So, but yeah, and it's the same with plants. The varieties of plants, they can actually, varieties of plants can exchange pollen and reproduce and create a hybrid of that variety. Mm-hmm. The differences come in from regional separations and things like that. So that's, the best answer I can give you on what the deal is. Plants, it works just the same as it does with animals. Speciation means you can interbreed to create an offspring that can interbreed. That's it.
All right, and we got another one here. I figured Paul and I could each tackle one, considering they were in our own specific areas of expertise. We've got Pete Stowicki, who asks, did the majority of American colonists make the trip to escape religious persecution? Goes on to a little bit more detail about this. Apparently he was taught in school that religious persecution is, the reason that the Americans came here. That's why we're freedom of religion and blah-de-blah-de-blah. And the question is, was that actually the case? Mm-hmm. Well, truth be told, no. No, it wasn't. We hear the stories about the Puritans that ran from religious persecution. That's true. That's, again, in the 1600s. In the 1600s, keep in mind, the Puritans were a Calvinist spin-off, and they were basically, like the Scientologists of today. I mean, they were weird.
Sure.
Nobody liked them. They were freaks. So
Mormons.
Yes. Mormons, better example, are the Mormons. Mm-hmm. They're just weird enough that nobody likes them. The Protestants didn't like them. The Catholics didn't like them. Lutherans didn't like them. Nobody liked them. So they ran away. I mean, they actually ran to a couple of places before they came to the New World. What most of the American colonists came here for was opportunity. Economic, financial opportunity. Much the same way that immigrants come today.
Imagine that there was land that you didn't have to buy.
You could just come here and take it.
Yeah.
And then you could raise plants and raise a family. You could have a plantation. You could have a huge swath of land for basically the price of nothing. Now, we did have people that came here as indentured servants.
Sure.
But the whole idea and the thing that separated them from slaves was that you could work off your servitude, and then you're free. And once you're free, you can then just grab a plot of land. You could start cutting down lumber. You can grow tobacco, which was a big cash crop at the time.
Who doesn't like tobacco?
You could do any number of things. You could make your fortune. And so Americans really didn't come here, for the most part, out of religious persecution. They came here to make their fortunes.
Since day one, America, by foreigners, has been considered the land of opportunity. We've been selling that shit since day one.
And for the most part, for most of American history, it has been.
Yeah.
I mean, we hate the Mexicans nowadays, but generally speaking, immigrants have done nothing but bring good, a positive workforce to the continent, and they've brought basically, the bottom of the pyramid, and they've been able to work their way up. The problem we have now is, we've got a lot of Mexicans coming in, and a lot of people are still on the bottom rung. Capitalism has failed a lot of people, and so, the immigrant workforce coming in is a little bit hamstrung in that respect.
Yeah.
But, again, most of the people came here seeking economic advancement, not religious freedom. The separation of church and state was put in primarily because of, the English heritage where, Catholic came into power, killed all the Protestants, then a Protestant came into power and killed all the Catholics, and it went back and forth. And they said, we don't want to do that. We're not going to have a state religion. That's really the heart of the separation of church and state, protecting us from any religious domination. And that's really still the same thing that Paul and I, as well as everybody at the Reason Rally and anybody else, the ACLU, the Freedom from Religious Foundation, they're stopping religious persecution in exactly the same vein as the Founding Fathers and the writers of the constitutional rights. Right. Protect us from one religion, which will, push us any direction they want to. And that's what most of the folks came for.
Okay, so, and again, I want to point out, we probably don't know what the hell we're talking about. Now, here's the thing. We did the show on research and evidence and following citations. Go check us out. 'Cause again, there's nothing to say that we're right. And hey, if you find out that we're wrong about something, well, email that to us too.
Or call in.
Yeah, seriously. So,
if you think Paul has no idea what a species is, you call in and you tell him that.
Yeah, seriously.
Species are God-given divisions between one animal and another to protect our right to procreate and not be gay or something. It's something like that.
I have no problem admitting when I'm wrong, but don't think I'm not going to make you prove it.
Yep.
reason@wnyatheist.org. We're waiting for your questions.